Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Show City Council to order. By roll call, see that all council members are present. We'd like to welcome those who are with us tonight in the council chambers, as well as any citizen that might be watching tonight on City 56 and any other participants. We'd like to begin this meeting by a prayer. We've asked Council Member Kelly if he'd lead us in an invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Mayor. Those who'd like to join with us, please stand.
Our Father in heaven, dear God, I do thank you for the very privilege that we have in this country of gathering and handling the business of our city. We ask that you give this council special wisdom that we might make decisions that are really the very best for the city, for the people who live here. We'd ask that you be with our service personnel at home and abroad, our first responders, our police department, firefighters. They have jobs that can be particularly dangerous to perform. Guide and direct us. Give us wisdom beyond that which is naturally ours. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join with the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight, I'd just like to welcome our citizens and tell our citizens and our staff and our law enforcement and our nurses will thank you for the job that you have done, for what you have done the past 4 months here, particularly in fighting COVID-19 and trying to be and keep honor and peace in our community. And I know we've lost lives, we've lost people, we've had a lot of stress and extremes of getting children back to school of where they should be. And I know it's very painful to have loved ones that are in the hospital that you can't visit, or you can't see. And you don't have that choice to say goodbye the way that you would like to. And we just extend our heartfelt to those families that have had to endure those things. May we continue to endure. May we continue to realize that we're moving in a better direction. We're thankful that all of the businesses in our community are open now to some form of business. And we just hope that we'll continue to patronize our own businesses and to do what we can. We're grateful and we're blessed to live in this country. We're grateful and blessed that we live in the White Mountains. And although we've gone through this, we have been safe with one of the driest summers that I know of since I've lived here. And it's one of the things that we've been blessed not to have a fire on top of everything else we've been enduring. So thank you to our citizens, and may you continue to pray and continue to ask for our blessings from our Heavenly Father. Tonight we have a call to the public. Any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that's not on the agenda may do so at this time. Know that your time is limited to 3 minutes. We'll open that to call to the public. Seeing that nobody moved, I'll close call to the public and bring it back to council for the items that we have on the agenda tonight. First item we have is a consent calendar. Look to council if there's any items they want to have discussed separately or individually. Not all say what those items are. It's a consideration of acceptance of an Arizona Attorney General's grant and associated transfers for our police department. Consideration of appointment of a local public safety personnel retirement PRS board member. And the consideration of the minutes of the Show City Council meeting study session of August 18th and the regular meeting of August 18th. Look for a motion. I have a motion by Councilwoman Kakava, seconded by Councilmember Hatch. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Did that pass 7-0? Next item is new business. We have a public hearing, ordinance number 2020-03, amending the zoning ordinance of the city, amending the zoning map, changing the zoning on property ascribed from light industrial to C2 general commercial. Mr. Turgaskas, I'll turn the time to you.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. At its regular meeting of August 25th, 2020, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0. Commissioner Adams excused to recommend approval of a zone change request submitted by Compassionate Care of Arizona, Inc. for property located at 1350 North Penrod Road, more particularly described as AP number 210-49-123. Change the zoning of the subject property from I-1 light industrial to C2 general commercial. The subject property was previously utilized by Western Grade and is currently vacant. The applicant has indicated that they plan to relocate from their current location in Taylor to the subject property. The applicant will utilize a portion of the building for a medical marijuana dispensary. An existing medical marijuana cultivation facility is located off-site. There is no plan to relocate the cultivation facility to the subject property due to regulations by the Arizona Department of Health and Show Low City Code. The applicant held a neighborhood meeting on June 15th, 2020. There were no neighbors in attendance. However, staff has received an email from a property owner within the notification area expressing concerns related to this request. This email was attached as part of the report given to council. Per section 15167D1, medical marijuana dispensaries or infusion facilities are limited to the C2 zone through a conditional use permit or CUP. Also, medical marijuana cultivation facilities are limited to the I-1 and I-2 heavy industrial zones through a CUP. Because this will be a medical marijuana dispensary and not a medical marijuana cultivation facility, a rezone of the subject property is required. If the zone change is approved by the City Council, the applicant will need to apply for a CUP through the Show Low Planning and Zoning Commission. This zone change will be contingent upon Arizona Department of Health and City of Show Low CUP approvals. At this time, I'll go through the commission recommendations as far as conditions of approval. Those are all development shall comply with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements. The applicant shall landscape the property in accordance with section 15160D7 of the City Code. To clarify, that is the C2 zoning district landscape requirements. Condition 3, no medical marijuana shall be cultivated on site. Number 4, the adjacent I-1 light industrial properties shall not be required to install screening walls or fences between themselves and the subject property. And 5, this zone change is contingent on Arizona Department of Health and City of Show Low conditional use permit approvals for a medical marijuana dispensary. This item has been scheduled for a public hearing. Staff, as well as the applicant and the applicant's representative, are available for questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions here of staff at this time? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Justin, I'm just trying to work all this stuff out. And when we first let the first one, medical marijuana in, wasn't there a radius or something where you couldn't have another one or something like that? I can't remember all the exact wording. So I leave it to you to tell me.
Yes, there is, and that's why the applicant is requesting a zone change on this property. By city code, we require a minimum of 500-foot distance from things such as schools, from things such as parks, from things such as businesses with the liquor license, and we allow them only in the C2 zone. So once you start drawing those 500-foot circles around all of the various uses that you have to draw the 500-foot circles around, you really start to limit the amount of available property. In this case, staff did just a real quick look at the maps that we have that show the buffers. And citywide, there are approximately 30 properties total that might qualify and be outside of the buffers. Then you start to look at, well, what are those properties actually being utilized for? As an example, one of them is the ADOT yard, not available for development. The Reed Head home here on the Deuce of Clubs is one. Just different properties like that. The DES property on Penrod on the east side of town. So from a practical standpoint, even though there may be 30 properties, there really are a very limited number, even smaller than that, that are even possible. And that's why they've come forward and identified this property as a potential site for a dispensary, provided that a zone change is approved by the city council.
Now, another question with that is, I thought there was, I don't know your zoning, but I thought there was a mile radius, 50 miles, 25 miles, 30, I can't remember what it was, before anything else can happen, another dispensary or any.
So, Vice Mayor, probably, I believe what you're referring to is there's a 25-mile limit. If you live within a 25-mile distance of a dispensary and you are a permitted user of the medical marijuana, if you live within 25 miles, you cannot grow the marijuana yourself at your home. Once you get outside of that 25-mile radius, then there's some additional requirements and restrictions that you have to comply with, but it becomes an option. So in this case, what that would actually do is the current dispensary that we have in town, this would extend that 25-mile radius approximately 2 miles further to the north than where it is now, for those people who are looking to grow this type of material themselves at home.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Kakavas.
In relation to that, I think when we initially discussed the original dispensary at that time, wasn't there a state regulation that required that you could only have one dispensary within every 25 miles? And I've asked that question of the city manager and he's answered it for me, but I think that that would help our citizens to understand this a little bit better, why we're possibly allowing a second one.
Certainly. So originally when the Medical Marijuana Act was passed by the voters, there was a requirement by the Department of Health that you could only have one dispensary per CHA, is what they refer to. CHA is an abbreviation for Community Health Assessment Area. And Show Low was entirely within one CHA. Since then, what they have done is they've said, well, we have some areas of the state that these dispensaries really aren't doing as well as they are in other areas. And so the Department of Health said, well, instead of only allowing one per CHA, if you've been established in another CHA, you can actually transfer to a separate CHA. So based on the Department of Health regulations, what originally was not an option is now an option for these dispensary operators. By city code, when we wrote our zoning ordinance, we recognized that we couldn't produce a monopoly. And so what we said is we will limit the total number of dispensaries within the city limits to 2. This would be the second one. We do not allow any more than 2. So.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hatch.
I was just wondering, looking at the map here, would we preclude by this zoning change, would we preclude any other business coming in and being able to utilize what's nearby?
So the surrounding properties on to the north is owned by the city. That was purchased or acquired as part of a runway protection zone for the airport. Really not anything that can go in there. We do have privately owned property to the west and to the south. Both of those are industrially zoned. This would not prohibit or inflict any type of additional regulations on those properties by this change. In fact, the commission decision recommendation about the fencing was specifically put in for that. Typically, when you have a heavier use adjacent to a less intensive use, the heavier use is the one that's required to screen from the less intensive. In this case, industrial generally is considered to be a heavier use than a commercial zoning designation. And in normal circumstances, the industrial would be required to put a solid material fence or wall between them and the commercial property. In this case, because the commercial is moving into the industrial, the recommendation was made that the industrial does not need to follow that requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you. When this comes back with the conditional use permit, there will be additional requirements can be added or at that time, correct?
Yes, that was part of the discussion with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The zoning really is kind of the 50,000 foot level look at things. Once we get to the conditional use permit, that's when we start to look at things like hours of operation, signage, what days they can be open, all that type of thing. From staff's perspective, we would envision that our recommendation to the commission is going to be, probably pretty close to verbatim to what was required of the existing dispensary that we have here in town.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly and Councilmember Woman Kakavis.
This somehow does not have to apply or doesn't apply to the spot zoning, or how does it get past that?
So in this case, because you have commercial, the C2 property is actually directly adjacent to this. The auto mall directly across the road is zoned C2. And so this becomes an extension of that C2 zoning.
Councilwoman Kakavis.
In Mr. McMillan's letter to the council and to the city, he noted that if the rezone takes place, that they will have availability to change and add on site cultivation at the site of the dispensary. Is that correct?
As conditioned by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and if that recommendation is continued by the City Council, that recommendation is that there would be no cultivation on this property. So that would become a condition of zoning. If they chose to change this into some type of a cultivation facility, they would have to go through the entire zone change process. We'd be back here in front of you doing the same thing we are now.
Any other comments or discussion at this time? I'm going to go ahead and open this for a public hearing. If there's some more comments later, we'll open it back up. So at this time, this is open to the public to comment. Please come up, state your name and your address.
Yeah, my name is Joseph Holland. I represent the applicant. I'm an attorney in Snowflake. And I just want to make myself available to address any concerns you may have. I wanted to point out a few things though, and that is number one, this zone change is consistent with the general plan that was adopted by the town or by the city in 2018. And I don't know if you've got the map that I see here in front of me, but the map here shows this property and everything south of it are going to be, or it's considered retail space under the general plan. And while of course a general plan, it does not guarantee any zone change, it's the general policy of the city to rezone consistent with the general plan. And this is a retail use. The space that's there, because it has to be so far away from any school, any church, any daycare, any park, any other liquor license, it's a big building. But they don't plan to utilize this building entirely for a distribution center. It's just that there's no other building available for this kind of distribution center. And so some of the concerns that have been raised in the past with regards to cultivation, for example, there is no feasible plan to cultivate on the site. It's just not there. They have a cultivation center, a site in North Snowflake that more than accommodates their needs. They have opportunities to purchase if it does not, and it's all governed by the statutes. But this site is actually not optimal for cultivation. It's a warehouse, and it would be difficult to equip it to do that. Requires several thousands and possibly millions of dollars to do that. And so it's not a prospect. Some of the other concerns that were addressed, there was a concern raised about how much product is being stored on site. Essentially less than 25 pounds at any given time will ever be stored here. Why? Because they have it processed off-site, they have it cultivated off-site. If it's going to be distributed outside of the area, it's distributed from that cultivation center in Snowflake. It doesn't come here to then be distributed, and everything that is on-site is kept inside a locked, fire-safe safe. For reasons of security. It's a controlled substance, but there's really no other location. But as you may have seen, there's a need. You have lines out the door at the current facility, and people waiting for the dispensary. There's a need here. There's a need in a lot of places, and regardless of how you come down on medical marijuana, there are people that swear by it. There are people that still consider it, in large part, like an adult bookstore that should be shunned and should be kept away from everybody. But there are medical professionals who swear by it, who say this is absolutely essential to treat certain conditions, and there are a large portion of the population that believe that and have shown results. And so my client is seeking to address a need, a known need, and they're doing everything that they can within all of the required parameters to meet any concerns. I don't know if is now an appropriate time to ask if you have any questions or
Now or never. No,
Any questions?
I will ask if you have any questions, but right now we'll just, if anybody else has any questions too, but go ahead.
I have a quick comment. No, I don't know if there's a need. I can tell you that. I don't see line where I live, but I guess I have a question, Justin, for you is, since this building is so big, can they put another business in it, or does it have to come back, or does we don't care if they had another business to it, or what's the deal with that?
So there is the potential that there could be another business located in this building alongside of the proposed medical marijuana facility. We can look at the location that they're at now. I mean, they're essentially located within a strip mall. There are several other businesses located within that same strip mall. So there is the potential that that could happen. Whether it does or not really kind of falls on them as the owner of the property to say, yeah, we're going to let somebody else in here or not. Whatever else came in would have to comply with the C2 zoning standard. So whatever that is, we'd have to evaluate based on those requirements.
Vice Mayor.
Justin, okay, I understand what you just got done saying, but I really believe the one that's down there right now, that mall we have, there's a firewall in between each one of those buildings, or they're going to be able to put a firewall in between each one of the businesses if they decide to do it in that building.
Right. So again, whatever goes in there, I mentioned they'd have to comply with zoning requirements. Obviously, they have to comply with building code and fire code requirements as well. There may be separation that is required, including a firewall, including different physical barriers between the two types of business. A big requirement that the Department of Health has is going to deal with security. And so if there becomes, or a second business is added into that property, their security plan and all of the different protocols that they have in place have to reflect that. So not only do they have to meet building code and the fire code and the zoning code, they also have to meet the Department of Health requirements for separation from other businesses in the same building.
Thank you.
Yeah, the council member Clark.
My questions are for Mr. Holland, so if anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Holland, how long is this going to be CompoCare's primary dispensary? Are they moving from Taylor to Show Low, or are they going to open a second location?
Yeah, so the requirements of the CHA that you heard about, it allows them to remove from one location to another, one CHA rather to another, but they would have to apply under under the Department of Health regulations if they wanted to have two centers. They are going to be moving their location from Taylor to Sholo. They anticipate they're going to service Taylor and Snowflake and other areas from that location in kind of North Sholo. But yeah, they'd be moving it. It does have substantial tax revenues for the town of Taylor. I think, and I guess maybe not quote me, but I believe they are the fourth largest contributor of tax revenues in the town of Taylor, next to Walmart and Bash's and some. But yeah, they're going to be coming. That's the plan, is that they're only going to have one facility, one distribution center. If they wanted to have another, they'd have to apply through the whole process again through the Department of Health.
And how long has CompoCare been in existence and operating at their location in Taylor?
Right. So and maybe I can defer to them. I don't know exactly how long they've been. I know that they've never had any complaints. There have never been any incidents of the police being called out or anything of that sort. Dusty, how long have you been there?
7 years.
7 years now at that facility. Now, right now, their location is in the industrial park in Taylor, and it's actually kind of tucked away on a dirt road. It's the old Muddy Boys drywall building. And many municipalities have taken the position that these belong, at least back when they were first contemplated, these belong in industrial park. City of Sholo took a different position on the recommendation of the then chief of police. He said he felt very strongly that these should be on major arterial roadways so that they can be monitored and patrolled easily. And major arterial roadways are generally zoned C2. This location is on the Highway 77. It's a major arterial roadway, but it happens to be zoned industrial. It's adjacent to other C2 zoning, and like we've discussed, there's just not a lot of other opportunity for a location to go in, but it is on the major arterial roadway where you have easy access, you've got easy patrol, you've got easy oversight. All the things that he raised as a consideration and a condition are still met by this location. So they're moving from an industrial park in kind of tucked behind things. I don't know if you're familiar with Taylor's demographic, but kind of tucked behind K Supply in Taylor Industrial Park to this location, which is, I think, just a better general location.
And as far as the grow facility you mentioned in North Snowflake, has there been any kind of issues there as far as like breaches of security, people breaking in, any kind of like problems there in the last, I don't know how long you guys have been there, but.
Years, never been.
So there are two grow facilities in Snowflake. There's Compo, or Compassionate Care of AZ, and the other one is Copper State. Copper State took over the greenhouse that used to be for cucumbers and tomatoes, and it's a large facility. The Compassionate Care of Arizona is a much smaller facility, but it's on the 277 as you're going toward Holbrook on the right-hand side there, and they've never had any issues there. I think a lot of the concerns that people are going to be just frantic to get their marijuana have largely shown to be unjustified in many ways. But the regulations are still there, and people take it seriously. I mean, it's still a controlled substance. I understand that Congress is voting next month to decontrol it at a federal level, but to this point, it's always been a controlled substance. So they're taking serious precautions, but there's never been any incident.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? The representation? Thank you. Appreciate it. This time we're still open public hearing. Any other comments? Seeing nobody moved, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Does council have any other questions or comments? Vice Mayor?
I guess I have a comment. We said we can have up to two now, but that gives me two places where they can get their medical marijuana and only have two grocery stores in Sholo. It's a hard thing for me to swallow that I have the same amount. You know, I understand where the lawyer says that we got people standing outside the other place, but I got people standing outside at Department of ADOT trying to get the vehicle license and stuff like that. So, and also got people standing outside the grocery stores. It's just a hard thing to swallow to do when we know that in this pandemic that we've had, our grocery stores have been on empty shelves and everything else, and yet I'm going to vote for another dispensary to be put in. It's a hard thing to swallow, so just let you know.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk if she'll read ordinance number 2020-03.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Shiloh, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance of the city, amending the zoning map, changing the zoning on property located in section 16, township 10 north, range 22 east of the Gila and Salt River Meridian, Navajo County, Arizona, more particularly described as assessor parcel number 210-49-123, from I-1 light industrial to C2 general commercial.
Thank you. This time I'll look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2020-03. I'll move to adopt ordinance number 2020-03 at this time. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Kelly. The reason, I'll just clarify, there comes points and times where it may not be the thing that we want to do, but to keep the city from a lawsuit and from other items, or sometimes things that we do, because I think we've set ourselves up very well in the city if we're going to have another dispensary, that we do have it in a front and center place like this will be. And that was one of our reasons when we first adopted the first time, when we didn't even want one, but we did it because it was the best thing to do so that other people wouldn't be growing their own substance within 5 miles of our community. So it is the best of two evils when you look at where our hands are kind of tied in the matter. No, we do not have to approve the zone change, but then according to our general plan and everything that's around it, we don't really have a good reason not to approve it either, I don't feel. So thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Kelly?
Ditto. What you just said,
Okay.
why I second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? See that passed 5-2. Thank you. Just to make a note that we will ask for planning and zoning to bring back under the conditional use permit, you know, things that are conducive to the others and things that we can control with this zone change as we approve the conditional use permit. Okay. Thank you. Next item we have is item 7C, consideration of ordinance number 2020-04, authorizing the purchase of real property known as AP number 210-16-082C from AMHC LLC. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. City staff was approached by the owner of AMHC LLC, which is Arrowhead Ambulance or Shiloh EMS, who owns the property located at 1000 East Mills, which he used as a station for ambulance services. He indicated that he was moving the location of his business and that he would be listing the property located at the above address for sale, and wanted to know if the city would be interested in purchasing a property located adjacent to Nicholas Homestead Park. City staff is aware that parking at certain events such as Little League games and maybe BMX races in the future has become an issue, and indicated to the owner that they'd be interested in purchasing the property for more parking. The owner obtained appraisals and shared the appraisals with the city. The back part of the property, which is vacant land, approximately half of an acre or 23,500 square feet, was appraised at $70,000. The front portion with the building was appraised at $455,000. This portion includes about 5,254 square feet under roof, which has storage space for vehicles, bathrooms, kitchen, office spaces, and storage space. The owner indicated he was willing to take less than the appraised amount, and staff negotiated with the owner to purchase all of the property, including the building, for $250,000 plus closing costs. The city will have a 30-day inspection period. The close of escrow will be on or about September 30th, 2020. Staff recommends approving ordinance number 2004 and purchasing the property which would allow the city to expand parking at Nicholas Homestead Park and allow future use of the building with the storage base for the city. We're in indoor. Mr. Mutter are available for questions.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? Look for a motion. Councilwoman Kakavas.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2020-04 and further move to approve the agreement for sale of real property with AMHC LLC.
We have a motion. We have a second by Vice Mayor.
Probably need to read the ordinance first. There. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Can I ask the city clerk to read the ordinance, please?
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Show Low, Arizona, authorizing the purchase of real property known as assessor parcel number 210-16-082C from AMHC LLC.
Being that you guys have already moved on that motion, we'll let that motion and second stand. My correction. Thank you. Any other discussion? Being none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? See that pass 7-0. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate staff on doing this, and we hope this becomes an attraction in addition to that park over there to help with some of the situation going forward. Next item we have is summary of current events. Elect the council members of any current events that'd like to share coming up. Council Member Leach.
I know it's not happening in Sholo, but you guys are not busy this Saturday. Come on over to Springerville and watch me get my rear end kicked cooking some ribs. So I haven't done it in a while, but I'm gonna go and promote our barbecue contest next year. But if you're doing nothing Saturday, come on over there from noon to 4.
Okay, great. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to let everybody know, I attended some meeting. Well, at first I apologize for not meeting at the last city council meeting. We had a big yellow backhoe to cut a fiber that I had to work on, so I was a little late. So, and I wanted to get involved in 16th Street is unbelievable. If everybody's seen that finished product, and people walking that street and just driving down it, it looks 150% better than what it did. So thank you, staff, and thank you everybody that's worked on that. Sholo Main Street, I attended a board meeting with him, a couple board meetings. Sholo Main Street has just finished the project, and you guys just seen it in the newspaper here on the corner of 9th and the Dusa Clubs, where Sholo's named by the turn of the card. That is a project that they started probably about 5-6 months ago and just finished up. And I think it looks great, and I get a lot of comments on it. And at least with the newspaper, you can see what it at least looked like before Main Street got it all finished up. So Main Street is getting ready to do some more projects. We have got a couple in mind what we're going to be doing. So hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be able to give you a little insight of what Main Street's looking at doing. We have a new coordinator, event coordinator, and the board is increased. And so it's going to be neat for the city of Sholo, partnering with the city of Sholo and the Main Street to beautify some of the areas. Also had a board meeting with the Meals on Wheels and Senior Center. Just wanted to thank NACOG and everything else that they beefed some stuff up for us. And thank you for the people in Meals on Wheels and Senior Center. The seniors are one of the most valuable things that we have in this community. And we as a city and a whole council here is looking to protect them, feed them, and do the things that we need to help the seniors here in Sholo. One thing I'd like to do tonight too is everybody would keep the Rosania family in their prayers. Joe Rosania and his wife, they were teachers here in Sholo. They taught Wanda taught English in the Sholo High School. Joe taught science in the junior high. Their boy was in Alaska having fun, doing things that he likes to do, hunting and fishing. Ended up being a plane crash, and he is deceased. He's 35 years old. He, here in the Sholo area, applied for the National Wild Turkey Federation $10,000 scholarship, and he won it through all the states in the United States that applied for that scholarship. His little essay was about being inside of a blind. and what it is to look outside a blind and seeing what's there where people can't see you. Kid's going to be missed greatly, and please keep the Rosanna family in your prayers. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Appreciate that. Any other council members? We've had the opportunity, just a few things here. We've got the county fair coming up. Although it's COVID-19 rules and regulations, we're still having the youth part of the county fair. So they'll be selling their steers and their hogs and their lambs. So be part of that. That's something that helps them with their education as they go forward. And that will be on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of September that we have. It's been interesting this week, yesterday and today. I participated in the League of Cities and Towns conference. It's not the same as going to a conference and rubbing shoulders with your peers, sitting in a Zoom meeting and kicking your feet up and taking 37 minutes to do a roll call. But other than that, it's different. We've learned a lot of things that are different with this scenario that we are. But what has taught us that we can still meet no matter where we're at. We can still do business, and we're able to do a lot of things electronically. So I look forward to the time that we can meet back together as people and be able to learn and have different type of meetings that we have with the League of Cities and Towns. But they've done a lot to prepare for this and make it the best conference that they can given the situation. Just want to put a plug in again for the census. Again, it's very important. It will end this month without people coming and pounding on your door starting the following month. So go to census.gov, fill out your census. It takes about 10 minutes. Let's be counted. Let's make sure that the community that you live in gets the dollars that they deserve from the federal portion and the state portions that we have to supply our parks, recreation, and roads. Otherwise, we have to use general fund money to fix those things instead of getting that money, for our fair share. So please go on and do your part to be counted. Appreciate that. City Manager, your report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things to report tonight. This weekend will be our Labor Day softball tournament. That's usually the Memorial Day softball tournament was delayed because of COVID. There will be games played on Saturday and Monday. Games will begin at 8 a.m. on Saturday at the Senior and Ponderosa fields. And the games will continue on Monday at 8 a.m. at both the Senior and Ponderosa fields, with the consolation bracket played at the Stake Center beginning at 11 a.m. Championship games for both the Senior Division and Ponderosa Division, A Division and B Division will play at 6 p.m. on Monday. The championship game will be of the C Division will be at the Stake Center field at 5:30 p.m. on Monday. COVID-19 restrictions will be in place. There will be rules and regulations to comply with the COVID-19 requirements. Waste management's pickup schedule is being adjusted to ensure more efficient trash and recycling collection services for Shoalo. We expect the schedule changes to be effective the first part of October. There will be notices sent out to all those that will be affected by the changes. And also be posted on our website at sholoaz.gov. And you can call City Hall if there's any questions on that at 532-4000. Just a little more on the census. It's underway. Only 40.8% of the households in Shoalo have responded to the census, and some of that's because of second homes, but we need to probably do a little better on that. It's not too late, as the mayor mentioned, to go to the 20census.gov and 2020census.gov and register. There are census takers out this month. It ends the end of the month. So they'll be going to the households that have not responded. And if you have any questions at all on the census, our planning and zoning director, Justin Tregaskis, can help you with that at 928-532-4041. And just a couple of projects we're working on, the public works projects, the metal path and fishing piers have begun. You see that in the metal. The manhole replacement project in Torreon is nearing completion, and work is started, and the contractor will start shortly on East Hall sidewalk and drainage improvements. And as always, we thank the public for their patience as we do these projects. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Appreciate it. Any other items council here or scheduling of meetings?
On scheduling meetings, just I want to remind the council, we've scheduled a study session on September 29th at 6 p.m. to review the final report from the Sports Facility Advisory Group.
All right, sit.
Just a
Yes.
quick comment. I think it might be fun to go watch that softball game. Mask on, swing, mask off, run. How are they going to do that? So it might be pretty comical to go watch that.
All right. Get out, support your town, support those guys that are burning barbecue too. Thank you so much, and I adjourn this meeting.
Burning nothing. Come on.
Burn it down some.